Everyone wants to feel desired, genuinely, deeply, unmistakably. And while women often voice that need, many don't realize men feel it just as strongly, not just to be appreciated for what they do or what they provide, but to be wanted for who they are. When affection only shows up before intimacy or feels routine, it stops feeling like real desire and starts feeling transactional. That disconnect creates emotional distance. Even in loving relationships, men often go unseen in this way. So today, let's shift that. Let's explore 3 powerful, beautiful ways to make a man feel desired. Not out of obligation, but from authentic attraction and care. Because when a man feels wanted, not just needed, everything changes. Let's get into it. 1. Compliment him and flirt like you mean it. Let's start with one of the easiest, most underrated, and weirdly forgotten ways to make a man feel wanted. Genuine compliments and playful flirting. It sounds simple, right? But for so many men, even the ones who get compliments from strangers on the street, there's often one person who holds back the most, the one person he actually wants to hear it from, his partner. Men aren't typically swimming in affirmations. In fact, many of them go through life rarely hearing that they're attractive, capable, or magnetic, especially from the woman they're with. And sure, maybe it was said early in the relationship, or casually dropped once in a while. But if those compliments dry up over time, the emotional distance starts to grow. There's a myth that men already know how desirable they are, that a handsome guy must hear it all the time. That confidence is automatic. But the truth? For most men, the absence of compliments from their woman creates an emotional gap, a gap that outsiders may try to fill, but never fully succeed in. And no, this isn't about inflating egos, it's about intentional recognition. Now, compliments don't need to be dramatic. They don't have to be poetic. They just need to be specific and sincere, especially when it comes to the physical. Because here's something many people don't realize. One of the biggest insecurities men quietly carry is the fear that their partner isn't genuinely attracted to them. Not just that she loves him, but that she wants him. So a compliment like, "You look really good in that shirt," or "Your arms are looking strong lately," goes further than most realize. It's not just saying you look good, it's saying, "I see you, I'm drawn to you, I still want you." Add a little playful flirting on top. That's where things get magnetic. Flirting is energy. It's an undercurrent of attraction that says, "You've still got it, and I still want it." And the truth is, in long-term relationships, that energy is often the first thing to disappear. The stress of life, the routines, the distractions, they all chip away at that playful chemistry. It reminds both people of the attraction that sparked the relationship in the first place. Now, for those who feel awkward doing it, that's completely normal. A lot of that hesitation comes from a fear of vulnerability. There's always a chance of rejection, of not getting the response hoped for. But the risk of silence, of emotional distance, of letting that connection fade, that's a bigger price to pay. So if something looks good, say it. If he smells good, let him know. If that beard is giving leading man energy, throw a wink in there. Not every compliment needs to be deep. Some of them should be light and playful. The goal isn't formality, it's flavor. And no, it's not about rewarding behavior or waiting until he does something first. It's about keeping the emotional oxygen flowing. Because when a man feels seen and wanted, everything changes. It creates a feedback loop of confidence, motivation, and closeness. Even one sincere compliment can break tension after a long day, or turn an average moment into a memorable one. And here's something that often gets missed. When a woman offers praise or flirty energy, it doesn't just lift his mood, it tells him she still sees him through a lens of desire. That's rare. That's intimate. Even a casual, "Damn, you're looking good today," while passing in the hallway can spark a grin that lasts all day. That moment becomes a reminder, I'm still attractive to her. And that thought alone can shift a man's entire emotional state. Because at the end of the day, most men don't need grand romantic declarations. They just need to feel chosen. A compliment says, "I notice you." A flirt says, "I still want you." And together they build the kind of chemistry that doesn't fade, it evolves. So even if it feels silly, or it's been a while since the last flirty exchange, try again. The magic is in the attempt. Because the truth is, emotional starvation doesn't always look like fights or silence. Sometimes it just looks like a slow drift away from noticing each other. Reignite that attention. Say the thing, give the look, let the moment linger. And remember, confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. Because when attraction is nurtured instead of assumed, relationships don't just survive, they glow. 2. Initiate intimacy and greet him with affection. Here's where it gets real. Most people underestimate just how much the initiation of affection matters. That includes everything from welcoming him home with a kiss to initiating intimacy, especially in long-term relationships and marriage. And no, this isn't about being performative or transactional. It's about energy. It's about making it unmistakably clear. You're not just here, you're wanted. Think about it. How often do couples stop showing genuine warmth when they reunite at the end of the day? Over time, even the act of greeting someone with a hug or kiss can feel robotic or disappear altogether. But here's the thing. Small daily habits create big emotional outcomes. When a man walks in the door and is met with joy, with connection, with physical touch, it softens him, it grounds him, it tells him, this is where you're loved. And that same principle extends into intimacy. In marriage especially, many men report feeling like the initiator 90% of the time, and when that pattern stays unbalanced for too long, it creates a sense of emotional loneliness, not because of the act itself, but because of what it represents. Men don't just want intimacy, they want to feel chosen. They want to know their partner desires them without prompting. And this isn't about frequency, it's about who initiates and why. A man who feels like he's always chasing that moment may eventually start to question whether the desire is mutual or just something that happens out of obligation. But when a woman initiates, even occasionally, it shatters that narrative. It sends a powerful message. I'm here because I want to be, and that is everything. Now, some women may feel disconnected from this area, and that's okay. If intimacy feels like a chore, or there's an emotional block, that's worth exploring. But in relationships where love is present and trust is strong, initiating intimacy doesn't just strengthen the bond, it restores balance. Even something simple like cuddling, a back rub, or affectionate touch with no expectation attached can work wonders. The goal isn't performance, it's presence. So whether it's greeting him with a kiss at the door or leaning in instead of pulling back during quiet moments, initiation creates an emotional ripple effect. It shows him he's wanted, not just needed. Because underneath the surface, initiation communicates priority. It says, you're not just on my to-do list, you're on my mind. Men rarely say it aloud, but they notice who reaches for them first, who closes the distance, who makes them feel safe to relax into love. When a partner takes the lead in small moments, it rewrites the emotional script of the day. It says, you don't have to earn my affection. It's already here waiting. Initiation isn't about being aggressive. It's about being attuned, noticing when he's withdrawn, offering warmth when he's tired. Sometimes that spark comes not from grand gestures, but from being the first to reach across the bed at night. It's the hand on the shoulder when he's deep in thought, the smile that says, you're still the one. When that kind of effort is mutual, the connection doesn't just survive, it thrives. And over time, it becomes a rhythm, a quiet language, a knowing. In healthy relationships, initiation becomes a shared dance, one that deepens with time, not drifts away. Because being wanted isn't about words, it's about energy. And when that energy is felt first without being asked for, it transforms everything. Sometimes it's not about physical affection at all, it's about initiating emotional closeness, asking, how was your day? And actually listening, sitting close without distraction. These subtle moments of initiating connection tell him he's not an afterthought. They show that his presence isn't just tolerated, it's treasured. In many relationships, affection fades not because love is gone, but because intentionality has. People get caught up in tasks, routines, and responsibilities, and touch becomes rare. But when one person makes the choice to reintroduce those small signals of affection, it disrupts that autopilot mode in the best way possible. It's a way of saying, we're still us, even in the middle of all this life stuff. And for men, who are often socialized to suppress emotional needs, being the recipient of unprompted affection can be deeply healing. It tells him that he doesn't have to perform strength all the time, that it's okay to lean back and be cared for. A surprise hug in the kitchen, a random text during the day just saying, thinking of you. These things don't take much, but they mean everything. Initiation reminds him that he's not invisible in the relationship, that his emotional presence is felt and reciprocated. And the best part? When one person starts showing up with more warmth, it naturally inspires the other to do the same. It becomes a loop of affection that builds trust, rather than silence that builds walls. Affection doesn't have to be loud or dramatic, it just has to be consistent. Even sitting next to him during a quiet movie night, brushing against his arm, or holding his hand, these are cues that say, you're mine, and I still choose you. It's about bridging that space between roommates and lovers, closing the gap that busy lives often create. Because over time, these small acts become the foundation for emotional security. They remind both people why they chose each other in the first place. And in a world full of distractions, that kind of steady, intentional initiation is rare, which is exactly why it matters so much. Let me know if you'd like a compiled version with all expanded sections. 3. Tap into his unique desires, not just generic acts of love. Let's be honest, there's a difference between showing love the way you think it should be shown and showing it the way someone else actually receives it. This is where so many people go wrong. They give effort, but they give the wrong kind. Here's a classic example. Someone assumes that buying flowers is romantic because most women like flowers. But what if the partner doesn't? What if their love language is words of affirmation or quality time? The same thing applies to men. There are far too many relationships where no one stops to ask, what does this specific man desire? What makes him feel valued? What lights him up? The assumption is often that all men want the same things. And while sure, there are some common threads, true connection requires customization. It's not enough to say men love respect or men want sex. That's generic. What's needed is curiosity about him. What does he consider romantic? What kind of affection does he crave? What's his emotional hunger? And here's the twist. Sometimes when asked, a man may blurt out something unexpected, maybe even a little wild. But that's part of the process. Vulnerability doesn't always come out polished, and it's not always about saying yes. It's about responding without shame or judgment. Not everything has to be acted on, but listening with openness and responding with emotional maturity, that creates safety. And more importantly, it creates desire. Because nothing is more attractive than someone who wants to understand you. Someone who's not just guessing, not projecting, not assuming, but actually asking. Men don't often get asked those deeper questions. Many aren't even used to being given that space. And that lack of emotional validation becomes a quiet ache. But when someone leans in and says, "What makes you feel most loved?" Or, "What do you wish happened more in our relationship?" that changes the entire landscape. It makes the emotional walls fall away. It invites transparency. It says, "You matter, your experience matters, and I'm here to learn you, not just love you the way I learned from someone else." And even more powerful, acting on that insight, adjusting the little things, replacing assumptions with attention. It could be as simple as remembering how he likes his coffee, or noticing when he seems burnt out and offering a night off. It's the choice to study his moods, his rhythms, and his reactions, like a language that keeps evolving. And it means not dismissing his quirks, but leaning into them with love and curiosity. Some men feel appreciated when their efforts are verbally acknowledged. Others feel it when their space is respected without question. Desire isn't built on dramatic gestures. It's built in the micro moments of attunement. And when someone gets it right, when they give love the way it actually lands, that creates a kind of magnetism that doesn't wear off. It becomes a loop of connection, where giving and receiving are in harmony, and neither side feels neglected. It also teaches the other person how to reciprocate, because when love is shown in a custom-fit way, it often invites the same level of depth in return. It's like learning someone's favorite song by heart, and then humming it on a day when they've forgotten who they are. That's what it means to be seen. Because when desire is built on specificity, it lasts. When it's built on assumption, it fades. It's not just about the big questions either. Sometimes it's noticing the small shifts, how his energy changes after a hard day, how his voice softens when he talks about something meaningful. That kind of presence speaks louder than any grand gesture. It's paying attention to the little things he doesn't say out loud, the way he lingers when he's feeling low, or the way he gets quieter when he's overwhelmed. It means learning his silence, not fearing it, not filling it with assumptions, but instead sitting with it until it feels safe enough for him to speak. Because the truth is, some men have spent a lifetime being told that their needs are too much or too complicated. That being strong means being silent. But the moment someone comes along who doesn't shame that vulnerability, who makes space for it instead of fixing it, that's the moment desire shifts from surface to soul. And that doesn't require perfection. It just requires curiosity. Even saying something like, "Tell me one thing I could do this week that would make you feel cared for," opens a door that's often been closed. It tells him that he's not just a provider or protector or partner, but a person whose heart matters. When that kind of dialogue becomes normal, the relationship starts to feel like a sanctuary, not a performance. A space where emotional honesty isn't punished, but appreciated. And here's the beautiful part. When that space exists, men soften. They relax into love instead of bracing against it. They stop performing and start participating. Because now, love isn't something they have to earn. It's something they get to receive. And when a man feels emotionally safe, desire naturally follows. Not the kind that's chaste, but the kind that's magnetized. Because the most powerful relationships aren't built on guessing games, they're built on paying attention. And in a world where so many people feel unseen, becoming the one who truly sees him, that's a superpower. Let me know if you'd like this added to a combined final script with all your expansions. So when it comes down to it, making a man feel desired doesn't require massive gestures or over-the-top plans. It starts with seeing him. It's the casual compliment that reminds him he's attractive. The kiss when he walks through the door that says, "You're home, and I'm happy you're here." The surprise moment of intimacy that wasn't requested or expected, but deeply appreciated. And maybe most importantly, the conversations that say, "Teach me how to love you better, and I'll show up with intention." Because real desire isn't just about chemistry, it's about connection. And connection lives in the little things done consistently, with care. If this resonated, don't stop here. Dive deeper into real relationship dynamics by checking out the next video. Prepare to receive your future husband by doing these 7 things, linked right over there. Tap in, stay empowered, and build the love that lasts. Until next time, stay intentional.